Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries. We are continuing on with my ink explorations, making our way through my collection, and we have officially started the pinks. So for our first category of pinks, we're doing dark pink, and I will have a few pink categories because, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with pink ink. Anyways, as for supplies, like always, we have my A5 Hobonichi journal here with the original Tomoe River paper. This is the Yamazakura notebook cover one. I have a tape dispenser, which I've been using as an ink file holder. Today, I have my Kakimori brass tip pen with the aluminum holder versus the Sakura wood, a dropper, the condiment cup, which was inspired by Leanne Likes, a white t-shirt that I've been using as a rag, and then a jar of water. We are going to be doing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 samples today. And I consider all of these to be kind of like a darkish pink color. Some of them may lean a little bit more magenta-y, kind of. I feel like most of them are pretty true to pink, even like a pink red even. But first up is probably one of my favorites, and that is Pilot Iroshizuku. I think it's Tsutsuji. Tsutsuji is almost a medium dark pink. It has a very purpley undertone to me, even could be considered probably in a more pink magenta. It does have some beautiful shading when it dries down, which is pretty common with the Pilot Iroshizuku inks, and then it also has a very minor green sheen. This is probably one of my favorite pinks from the Iroshizuku line just because it's very legible, but it's also very, I don't know, true to color. I feel like it's a really good, true dark pink. The next ink I have here is Noodlers Black Swan in Australian Roses. I have talked about my disapproval, distaste, dislike of Noodlers inks, and it's mainly because of the consistency that I have a problem. They are usually incredibly wet. They never dry down for me, and they're just, for some reason, they don't agree with me in terms of the quality or ink standard whatevers. But the color of Noodlers Black Swan and Australian Roses is gorgeous. It is this warm, like inviting, deep pink color. I think it's really stunning. Even in writing, it's a very beautiful pink ink. I wish I could love this ink because I do love this color, but it's again the consistency that's such a problem for me. But luckily it is very close to the Tsutsuji, as you can see, so I'm perfectly fine with the Pilot Iroshizuku line and can get my fix for this color in that one, since this one is not really my favorite ink consistency. The next ink we have is DeAtramentis Apple Blossom. DeAtramentis Apple Blossom is a scented ink, and it does have a very floral, perfumey kind of smell. I would say in terms of color, it is kind of like a dusty dark pink. It's not quite vibrant dark pink. It has a softness to it. It does have some beautiful shading when it dries down, and as I've talked about several of the DeAtramentis inks, the flow and consistency of these inks I have never had a problem with, and they are typically a lot more wet than some of the other inks I have. I will note that scented inks tend to have a bit of a different consistency just because of whatever element they use to make the ink scented. So they may not dry completely on all papers. I haven't found a problem on the original Tomoe River paper. I have yet to use it on the new Senzen Tomoe River paper, but I'm hoping it's going to behave the same. We shall see. I like this color. It's just, I don't know, the scent reminds me a lot of like my grandma, and I love my grandma, but I don't really want to smell her while I'm writing. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, it's a beautiful color. It's just not my favorite. The fourth ink in our ink exploration today is Ferris Press Royal Rhubarb. Ferris Press Royal Rhubarb is this gorgeous dark red pink color. It has some fantastic shading when it dries down. And this is one of the Ferris Press inks I have found that has really good consistency and flow. It's not very dry. Maybe because it's more of a red ink. I feel like red inks typically have a bit better flow. Anyways, this color really reminds me of a rhubarb pie. And I don't know if any of y'all have ever had a rhubarb pie or even know what rhubarb looks like if you've ever grown it, seen it in the grocery store, but it is like bright red celery is probably the best way I can describe it in terms of appearance. And in flavor, it's very tart. And when you cook it down, it sometimes turns into this beautiful dark reddish pink color. And I really think Ferris 𝗦𝗃 has nailed it with this color, and it is so pretty. I do like this one quite a bit. I've never written with it in a full page, but the shading in swatches and in any of the like dip pens I've used it with is fantastic. So I'm excited for you guys to get to see that. The next ink I have here is a Scribe ink, and this one is called Rosso Melograno. The Scribe Rosso Melograno is vibrant, punchy, dark red pink. This color is stunning. I don't even know if the camera is going to do it justice with how vibrant this color is. When it dries down, it has this beautiful shading to it, and it has a very minor sheen as well. It is such a beautiful ink. I personally only have the one Scribe ink. This is the only Scribe ink I have in my entire collection, which I feel is honestly a disgrace. But it is really nice. I mean, I have no complaints in terms of consistency with the Scribe ink, this one in specific. Obviously, I haven't tried enough of them to really give my honest opinion on the brand itself, but this ink in specific is very nice, and I really do like this one. I would say in a broader nibbed pen, it does look a little bit more of like a reddish color, and then in a finer nibbed pen, it's a bit more of like a dark pink, like it says, like it is in the swatch. But the shading is phenomenal, and the sheen does pick up a little bit in the writing. Up next, we have Ferris 𝗦𝗃 Ruby Royal Flush. This ink is from the Ferris 𝗦𝗃, I believe, Fairy Tales line. It came out when the Tumbling Time Blue came out, and then also, I believe, Green with Curiosity. They were like a trio. And this one is the only shimmer ink that I have in this category today. But it's standalone. It is in a category all within itself. This ink is stunning. It is dark, dark pink. It is, I don't know, it really does look like a ruby gemstone when the shimmer hits it too, and it does have a sheen as well. It is a fantastic color. If you are drawn to this category, this is probably in my top 3 out of all of the ink on the page, and we haven't even finished yet. And yes, this one is just so beautiful. In terms of consistency, it's not as wet as the Royal Rhubarb from Ferris 𝗦𝗃 on the other page, but it is still a pretty nice flow. It doesn't have a dryness to it like most of the other Ferris 𝗦𝗃 inks I have tried. This one is just so pretty. It is so pretty, but it is a much darker than all the other ones, I would say. This is probably one of the darkest ones that I have today. Up next, we have Sailor Manyo Kuzu. Sailor Manyo Kuzu is very dark. It is like a dark pink black almost, especially in broad nibbed pens. I find that it is much darker than in finer nibbed pens, and the shading on this one is fabulous. I feel like Sailor Manyo inks are known for their shading, and this one definitely has some good ones. It's not a chroma shader, but it does have some nice darker shading. It does have a minor sheen as well, and in terms of flow, it's a Sailor ink. It's always good. I've never had any problems with anything from Sailor. They're just a bit more expensive than some of the other ink brands out there. This one's a really nice one. It's, again, very dark if you want something like a truly dark, dark pink. And yeah, I think it's a really good color. It's probably a bit more standard than anything else, but it's still really nice. The next ink I have here is Sailor Shikiori Okuyama. I really wanted to put these two inks next to each other, the Sailor Manyo Kuzu and the Sailor Shikiori Okuyama, because you can see they're very different, and they're both from Sailor lines, and I feel like these inks need to be compared because they are very close but very different. So the Kuzu is very much more pink leaning, and I would say that Okuyama is very much more red leaning. They both shade, they both have a little bit of sheen, but in larger writing samples, they are very, very close. So when these dry down, try to pay attention more to the writing versus the swatch, because the swatch shows how different they are, but in writing, they are much more similar. And that's why I really wanted to put them next to each other for this kind of ink exploration. And the last ink for today's dark pinks is my favorite, and this is Colorverse Andromeda. Colorverse Andromeda may be considered a bit more magenta to some, but it is more pink than purple, and magenta is a category leaning more towards the purple side. So I included this in dark pink, but some may consider it more magenta. This ink is stunning. It is so my favorite. It has gorgeous, vibrant, in-your-face color. It is so pigmented and beautiful. It's just so pretty to look at. It does have a pretty good sheen to it that's kind of like a greenish yellow color, and this honestly, it reminds me of like alien purple, maybe alien pink. I don't know, this one's a hard one to fit into a category because it is kind of magenta, but it's definitely more pink to me. But it is my favorite for sure in terms of everything on the page. This is my number one, and it is so pretty. I don't even know what else to say about this one. It's just so nice. I love this ink so much. Alrighty, that is it for the dark pinks for now. I'm gonna let these dry down, and I will see you guys in a second, and we will show the dried versions, close-ups, and my final thoughts. Alrighty, I am back. Everything has pretty much dried down. Ruby Royal Flush is still a little bit wet, but that's okay. So I'm gonna zoom you guys in, and we'll do some close-ups. Starting off with our Pilot Iroshizuku Tsutsuji. Seriously gorgeous color. It has got some nice darker pink shading there. I do think this one leans a little bit more purple, maybe fuchsia is probably a good term for this one. It does have a yellow-green sheen to it that is pretty strong. Honestly, it shows up even in the writing around the swatch. I love this one. It's a beautiful color, very striking color. If you like pink, this is a good one for you. Next up, we had Noodlers Black Swan in Australian Roses. Again, I'm not a fan of this brand of ink because of the consistency. I'm not going to touch this swatch because I already know it's going to smudge. Even if it's been drying for hours, it still smudges for me. It does have a very minor, almost green-black sheen for this one, and beautiful shading. Like I said, the color of this is fantastic, but it's the consistency of the ink itself that I have the biggest problem with. Next, we had DeAtramentis Apple Blossom. I would definitely say the shading on this is very high, wouldn't you? It goes from this almost light pink to very dark pink in the middle, and that's why I kind of wanted to include it in the darker pink section. But this one does have that kind of muted dustiness to it that I was talking about. So it's beautiful in terms of like a soft rosy color. I don't really consider this an apple blossom color. Apple blossoms are generally kind of like white to me, not dark pink, but that's okay. But this one is scented. It doesn't smell as strong once it's dried down, but definitely straight out of the sample or the bottle, it would definitely have that apple blossom florally perfumey smell. Next, we had Ferris Will Press Royal Rhubarb. I love the shading in this ink. It is definitely a red pink. It is dark, especially in a broader nibbed pen. It shows up much darker. And then finer nibbed, it's more of like that kind of reddish pink color around the edges here. I really think this is the color of a rhubarb pie. It really does remind me of a rhubarb pie. Next, we had Scribe Rosso Melograno. And this one's so pretty. It's so vibrant. It's so stunning. It is, again, that dark red pink color. It does have a very minor green sheen, almost a green-black sheen. It's so pretty. I think next to Noodlers, the shading is very similar, but the color of the Scribe is much more red pink, and the color of the Noodlers is much more like purpley fuchsia pink. Yeah. Then we had Ferris Will Press Ruby Royal Flush, and look at this stunner. It's so pretty. It really is like a ruby on the page. It has this vibrant green sheen to it, almost a green yellow, and it has a gorgeous gold champagne-like shimmer. Stunning base color that's that bright, vibrant ruby color. It is so stunning. I love this ink. All three that came out with this one, the Green Curiosity and the Tumbling Time Blue, are all fantastic. So highly love this one. It is a very beautiful color. Then we had Sailor Manyo Kuzu, and again, beautiful shading, pretty common with Sailor inks, honestly. Beautiful green sheen. This ink is so much darker in writing, as you can see here, and I did want to compare it to the next ink we swatched, which was Sailor Shikiori Okuyama. And as you can see, the writing is so similar. In finer nibbed pens, you can definitely see more of the difference. This one's much more of like a purpley red pink, and then this one's much more of like a red pink red, I guess. But the shading is very similar. They both have a very similar green sheen, and I think if you could get one over the other, you'd be fine. But it's up to you, I guess. I think I like the more reddish one than the more purpley one, but it's a tough choice. They're both really pretty. And lastly, my favorite, Colorverse Andromeda. This ink is so pretty. I'm going to see if I can get the sheen to show you guys. It is so stunning. It's like this golden green sheen. It has gorgeous darker shading there in the middle. Colorverse Andromeda. The punch of color in this is so fantastic. Honestly, this one would probably be a good one. Now that I said punch, it made me think of the 𝗦𝘃𝗃𝗃 punch that came out recently. It's a vibrant, like almost fuchsia purple color. This one would probably be a good ink for that if you like bright magenta fuchsia purpley pink inks, because this is so many different colors in one. It's ridiculous. I do think this is like an alien pink with green though. Like I said, it's just so pretty. It's so vibrant. It's stunning. Alrighty, that is it for our dark pink ink exploration. I don't have too many dark pinks, which I was actually kind of surprised. I do have quite a few regular pinks, I guess, so maybe those will be a little bit darker than I remember. But we shall see. I would love to hear y'all's take on this ink exploration. If you have anything you would like to add, favorites, things you think that didn't really fit, let's discuss in the comments. I always love to see what you guys have to say. As always, if you're interested in any of the other ink explorations I have done, I think we're on 21 now. Gosh, I don't even know what number I'm on. I think this is 21. But if you're interested in any of the other ones we have done, I have a playlist in the description, and I will leave a link in the cards as well, and you can browse your way through the rainbow, as that's kind of in the way we have been going. So now we're on pinks. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, for joining me here today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.